Well, hello there, You listeners, my beloved, favorite sacred souls. Thank you so much for tuning in to the You podcast. I am, oh my goodness, so excited about today's guest. I don't know how else to say it, but when I met her through the Bold Heart community, I had this just love crush on Kiva because her energy is so magnetic. You're going to fall in love with her yourself. Let me tell you about Kiva so you can get to know her before she comes on. Kiva Schuler is a fierce advocate of integrity, creativity, and abundance in sales and marketing. Kiva is a leader in the field of women, money, and business. She believes that entrepreneurial endeavors, particularly through online vehicles, are the key to self-reliance, flexibility, and financial independence for women. She is a successful marketer in the field of online coaching and personal development and has co-created and written campaigns for luminaries such as Fabienne Fredrickson, Hendricks and Christopher Howard, and been the co-host of the World Business Executive Coaching Summit. Her entrepreneurial endeavors and keen marketing abilities have generated millions in sales online, but more importantly, have allowed transformational work to reach the people who need it in the areas of parenting, spirituality, health and wellness, finance, and entrepreneurship. Kiva is the founder of two conscious businesses, you heard that right, the Jai Institute for Parenting and the Heartfelt business, which is a creative agency for transformational leaders. Kiva, I am so excited to have you here. I couldn't be more excited. I'm beaming.
I know, we're like Insta favorite peeps. It was
I love that. Yeah, I was like, I gotta make her my friend. You just have such amazing energy. You really do.
Thank you.
Welcome. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so excited to talk about a lot of different things, but one of the things I'm really interested and curious about is this idea of being successful as a female, helping to spread, the marketing messages with heart, making money, changing our whole concept around women and making money and that being okay and worthiness. I'd love to get there at some point, because as I was reading and going through your bio, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is for women to 3.0. This is the woman 3.0 that I think we're moving into.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I was raised by woman 2.0. My mom picked us up in the dark of night. I mean, I'm being a little bit dramatic for effect, but she and I, when I was probably 4 or 5 years old, from Tucson, Arizona, where she'd grown up in a very conservative, protected, insulated world, and moved us to New York and started working on the night desk of Newsday, which is a major newspaper in New York. Wow. Eventually she became the associate managing editor. She just retired, 40 years later or something. And so what I received as a little girl was a front row seat to the feminist movement, to what it is to be an ambitious woman. And I really got to see, right, the power in that and the price that my mom paid. And so I think for those of us who are, the daughters of those brave freaking women who forged this path for us, we got to say, okay, I see that. I see this trajectory, and what do I choose to keep and not keep for myself and my family?
Oh, there is a lot we can unpack in that. I want to give everyone listening a little taste of, some of the backstory, because I think what can happen, this happens to me. I'll listen to someone, what they're doing now, and I'm like, oh, they've got it all together. They've never struggled. It's always been that way. It's all been that way. And, it's like,
I wish that was true.
Right? It's let's maybe go into, this idea of being your your higher self. It's never a linear line. I've not seen that yet. And maybe just to share what that actually looks like, means to you, and maybe how you've moved through some pivotal dips.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate that. I've asked my spiritual teachers over the years, is there a way to get there without breaking everything and destroying and like laying down on the ground in absolute abject surrender because you have no other freaking choice. If there is, I would like to know about it.
Me too, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think there is actually,
No.
because we all have this wonderful structure called an ego, and yeah. So no, I mean, for me, I started. Gosh, I did follow the ambitious woman path when I wanted to be a dancer and a theater person, but, I was really raised with this programming of, go make a lot of money, be a president of a corporation, go to an Ivy League school. That was the message, loud and clear. And so I started working in finance pretty quickly out of college. By the time I was 30, I was, making more money than any 30-year-old should make. I lived in a fucking oh, can I curse?
Oh yeah, we'll just put explicit.
Okay.
All good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I do have a New York newspaper editor for a mother. So
right. Watch out, people. Just put
like our house was ridiculous. Like, oh my God, that house we lived in, it was like this Tudor manse with like carved moldings and stained glass windows. And I had my BMW and my Prada shoes, and we had no kids yet. My ex-husband and I, we traveled everywhere. We were like, it was gross. I mean, it was awesome. But, I call those really the Easter egg years, right? Like it looked so pretty, just the way it was supposed to look. And what was true is I was, flying all over the world, partying with stockbrokers. If you had dropped me, I would have broken on a million pieces. So much drinking, so much rage, like just completely stuck in this life that felt so wrong. And so, and how do you let go, when it looks the way it's supposed to look? So that's where I started out. And, obviously that's not where I ended up.
Right. Yeah, take us. So like, I'm seeing the molding and the gorgeous homes. I grew up in New England, and I can just picture like, I'm like, oh yeah, I was in one of those homes. I didn't have one, but my friend did. And yeah, like, so how did you get from this looks great, I'm flown all over the world, I'm partying, to something is not right inside? Like,
it was actually what I recognize now is that I had my first sort of spiritual lightning rod come through me. So I didn't know what that was at the time. I had no spiritual practice. I, was raised in a Jewish family, but was given the choice when I was 5 to go to ballet class or Hebrew school. Like I was not my context. So at the time, this was probably early 2000. So after 9/11, but before the stock market crash of 2008. Somewhere in that period, the investment companies were starting to sell these riskier and riskier, investment vehicles essentially. And I was getting, weekly 5-figure commission checks. I had stockbrokers that were just turning all of their old ladies' accounts into these funds. They were called derivatives-based closed-end funds. And I remember standing in my office in that big ass house and holding a check. It was for $27,000. And I literally saw the financial system unravel. I could see my piece in this wheel of destruction, where I was literally being an advocate, an unconscious advocate for this thing that I knew was going to hurt people. I mean, I knew it in the core of my body. And I would say for me at that point, I was probably fairly narcissistic. I had never really thought about the repercussions about what I did on other people before. I was very happy to have my shopping sprees at Saks. And so this, you have to understand, like from that moment, this was like a boom. I mean, it took me down, and I dropped the check, and I got this whole, literally, I saw the financial system unravel exactly as it did, by the way. And I was like, oh my God, I can't be a part of this. I literally, I'm a part of something dark and evil, and I have to stop. And so that was sort of the beginning of it. I found a new job for a socially responsible investment company. They were even worse, quite frankly. Yeah.
Really?
Oh my God.
Okay. Sorry.
Just marketing. It was just the people who ran it were awful, awful people. So so that all happened. And then at the same time, I started to have my kids, Miles and Charlotte. Michael, my husband at the time, told me that I could quit when I had 2. So they're 18 months apart, because I was like, we're doing this. Like,
yeah. Get her done.
so yes. So I had my 2 kids, and then his fear overtook that promise. So he was not so keen on me leaving my, multiple six-figure job. And so I got myself fired. And yeah, I literally, now I know it's my soul, right? Like if I try it as I do a lot of copywriting for our clients. It's really interesting what my body will tell me about a situation, because I literally can't write for someone if there's not an integrity match. I used to I don't judge, right? It's just like, it's not happening. And so back then, like I was in sales, right? Like I could not pick up the phone. It was like, it weighed 10,000 pounds and I just was not selling anything. So I got fired, and the kids were really little, Julie. They were like, I don't know, 1 and 3. I came home and I was so excited to let the nanny go, because I was so jealous of her that she got to take my kids to the beach and play with them all day, and I'm stuck in a freaking office. And so Michael's like, well, you can take the summer, but then you really need to get another job. I was like, probably done. Yeah. So I became an aerobics instructor. I started teaching dance in my community. I taught myself to crochet. I was really good at not spending money, because I really wanted to prove that like we could live this way on just one salary. And then one day, it was when Barack Obama was running for president, so 2007 probably.
Oh yeah.
He was giving a speech, and he said, it is the moral responsibility of every man and woman to divest of their intellectual and creative capacity to make a difference in the world. And that hit me in the gut, because here, like, I am a highly educated, highly intelligent, quite privileged human sitting here on my couch with my 2 kids teaching aerobics. Yeah. And I got the message loud and clear that it was time to create something that was of my making.
Woo. Okay. So I'm like, I love it. I feel like we're in different, like, when you watch a series and then like it's over and you have to wait till the next one. And you're like, what happens? Like, okay, so aerobics too. So, cause I know also eventually that marriage unraveled as well.
Yeah.
Cause this is what I love about this story. And you said this, I wrote this down, the spiritual lightning rod hit you. What I love is like, I think many of us go through life like we're unconscious to be even being unconscious. Like we're doing the thing because we have all these stories and beliefs, and until something like that, looking at the check and you had this like image feeling of the whole financial system unraveling and realizing you are part of that darkness and getting yourself fired. And then it's like it sounds like you've started to tune in more and more. You start to become
I mean, I think that what happened is life actually made it impossible for me not to. Yeah. It's hard because I stand where I am now, and it's, like I have been through so much, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I couldn't, and at the same time, I am 100% wholly aware that this is why I get to have the life I have now.
Yeah. Right. I love that you get to. So you realized the aerobics was great. It took some of the fun dancing. I know that's so
still
fun.
People, once it's been like 10 or 15 years, people still stop me in the grocery store and they're like, you're that woman who taught that dance. I mean, I live in New Hampshire. There was, I'm from New York. Like there was nothing like that here.
Right.
Back then. And so, it was, and it was actually so powerful on my journey to becoming a coach, because it was the place where I learned how much I freaking loved inspiring women to do things that they did not believe that they could do.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was so freaking awesome. It was so awesome.
So cool to see the thread. And I'm thinking, like, anyone listening, this is like you harvest for what
Yeah.
that value, that essence of what you loved, because it's showing up now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same when I stand on a stage and I have a room full of glorious bodies to like move energy and do my thing. It's the
Right.
same as when I stood in that dance studio in Dover, New Hampshire. It's the
Right.
same.
The same. I love it.
It's not going to hurt my hip and my knees anymore.
Right. No issue. I love it. Hopefully not, unless there's unless there's a dance party. And
Right.
I did have the pleasure of being out with you at the 70s theme. That's a whole other conversation. It was so fun. So fun, but no injuries, which was great. No injuries. So, all right. So take us from your, you have young kids, you're home, you're doing aerobics, to like, because you have 2 thriving businesses, and I know you've worked with luminaries. Like, how did you get from there?
Oh my goodness. This was, okay. So it's been, where are we? 2020. It's been 11 years.
Yeah.
Nothing happens overnight. So when I first started, still very much in my ego, I started a business. My first business was called WISE, Women, Inspiration, Support, and Empowerment.
Oh.
Its intention was to provide financial education, because that was my background, to women. That business looked amazing. I had a podcast before other people, I did this podcast for a couple of years called A Woman's Worth. I was speaking. I had a gorgeous website that was not making any money. It was just, fancy and pretty. And over time, what I really learned was I was really, really good at being able to see how to take ideas that other people had and put structure underneath them and package them and market them in a way that really worked. And so over time, I kind of found this sweet spot of not actually needing to be the person in front, but being the behind the scenes, like, what is the marketing engine? What is the positioning of this offer? What is the best way to package it and price it and put it together and offer it to the world in a way that would be effective? And so, I just at first would like partner with people. That's how Jive, my parenting business, was started in partnership. Like, oh, you have the modality and the methodology.
Yeah.
And I have I love selling. I love marketing. I love putting things out into the world that are made from our imagination and having it's so fun. So first I would do that in partnership, and then I would do it in other people's businesses. And I was like, wait a second, this is actually a thing. So, I started doing a lot of consulting and copywriting, and then, lo and behold, here we are 11 years later. And, I've got this agency, which is now, really kind of shifting into more of a publishing model, which I'm really excited about. And then, the parenting work, which is just my soul's work, whole other story we could spend days on. But, what we do for the parenting business is the marketing that we do for our other clients. It's just we happen to own the asset.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I'm like, there's a lot of angles we can go. What
3 years later.
3 years? Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, there's the dissolving your marriage, which was its own thing that you went through. There's the building this.
Well, I guess I would love to kind of circle back, because up until, so here's the thing, in the background of all of that, right? I got married when I was 26 to the man I'd been together with from college since I was 19. I was a completely different person. I think, if I can put myself in his shoes, he thought he married, a sales vice president of an investment management company. And back then, I think we did want the same thing, but it became pretty clear to me at a certain point that I didn't want that life. I did not. We had a, big ass house on a big ass farm in New Hampshire. There was horses and chickens, and it sounds very idyllic, but I was not meant for that. And so I was constantly running this event, that retreat, going here, doing this, anywhere but being in my home. And I remember that I had this, those moments of clarity where you have like a truth thought, but you don't want to acknowledge.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So I remember about 7 years before the marriage actually ended, having this moment like, wow, my path out of here is to have my business be really successful. Because he had a lot of control issues, especially around money and me. And I knew that if I in any way needed his financial support to leave, it would get really, really ugly, really ugly. And so I had this moment where I was like, okay, to be able to leave, I need to have the business be successful. Well, what that created was this codependent entanglement between my business needing to be the thing that let me be away from the person who was supporting me, let the business be the thing. Does that make sense? Do you see that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was, I mean, not my best moments in those years, really, really not my best moments. And there's so many things I wish I could go back and just clean up and redo. Michael was traveling all the time. I was traveling, to get away. We have these kids. I'm pushing to have the business work. And it was, I was into 6 figures, but I don't think I was keeping any of it. Like it was just all icky. And then in the way that life does, life set up a series of events for me. So part of what was keeping me in the marriage was that my best friend, Andrea, was in the latter stages of her journey with ovarian cancer.
Oh, wow.
So I was spending so much time with her and really, tending to that journey and the kids and all the things. And so I had a coach at the time. I begrudgingly did not want to go on this trip to Colombia, where there was plant medicine involved. I really tried to get out of it. But that isn't what happened. I went. And so I went to Colombia. I did this really intense spiritual work.
Wow.
I came back. Andrea died a week later, which was like, and the way that all happened, and it was beyond anything I would wish on anyone. It was horrible. I didn't actually know she was gonna, like, there was all this miscommunication. Nobody told me. I didn't get to say goodbye. Michael knew, he didn't tell me. So I was like, so that was like the, right? Like, okay, Colombia, I crumbled my ego, came back, Andrea died, like that attachment went away. I heard her so loud and clearly, like, there's so much good for you, love, just go, like, it's time to go. And so I took myself on a silent retreat for 3 days, came back and told Michael that we needed to leave, and of course, or I needed to leave. And I remember him saying to me, like, Kiva, this, you can't, like, you're in mourning, you're in grief, you can't make a decision like this right now. You're not seeing clearly, you're not thinking clearly. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I am seeing more clearly than I have ever seen in my entire life. Get out of the way.
My goodness.
And yeah, so that happened. Okay, so that was in April of 2016. The business is, what I mean, like instant, because all of that heaviness and entanglement and gunk and lies and manipulations and making deals, right? Like, I'm going to sacrifice this part of myself so I can keep this thing I think I need, was keeping my soul from being who I was supposed to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, one of the things we talk a lot about is tuning into your inner wisdom, your intuition. And what's so interesting, my gosh, I can't even imagine, I'm just pausing for a minute, because to go through the whole like ego dissolving experience I can only imagine in Colombia, then you, which is its own like
Oh
mind
yeah,
experience, then your best
no
friend.
joke.
Yeah, right. I'm sure, like, I can only imagine that. And then your best friend who you did not get to say goodbye to, but you could feel with you. It's like, it sounds like you got this rush of clarity. And
Yeah.
curious for you, this is sort of like a side note, with your intuition, inner wisdom, do you tend to, is it something you feel? Do you sense it? Do you hear it? Is it, how does that come?
Yeah, for me, it's like a clunk. I describe it as a clunk.
Yeah.
Like gear drops in,
Yeah.
and I've learned like there's just no not doing the thing. Like in the past, I would then get into my head,
Yeah. That's why I'm asking.
justify and make sense of and strategize. And now it's just like, all right, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, right. It's like, what is it? Like you obey the dude. Like it's just,
I call it forehead on the floor. So what I learned in that time, and actually even through my teacher too, was the most powerful stance that we can have is forehead on the floor to life. Meaning we're just prone, right? It's not actually, I have given over control guidance of my life to something higher. You could call that your higher self, God. I call it life. I've just given over myself to life. I am prone, forehead on the floor, to what life commands of me. And it's simply my job to say yes to what presents. I don't actually think much anymore about the future or what I want or what I should do. Like I don't think that way. It's not in my being. It's just like, what's here today? Okay, I'm doing that. Yeah. Like, and sometimes what shows up is painful and hard, and it's like, do I have to? Okay, I will.
Didn't really call that one in, but right.
It's not all, I think that people misunderstand abundance consciousness.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Yeah.
That it means like everything is rainbows and butterflies and easy and I don't know, like what, like money, like that it's money. To me, money is just something, it's like the way that I feel it is we are plugged in to the natural abundance of life. Now, but let's think about what the natural abundance of life is. The natural abundance of life ebbs and flows. The tides go up and they go down. Things grow and then they die. And what's beautiful about understanding that is that you don't have to be in reactivity to what's presenting. So right now we're in an economic contraction, right? Where we're experiencing a global economic contraction. It's not personal.
Right.
Nobody's doing anything to anybody. It's simply that this is what life does. And so if you can actually just like, the way I always envision it is like surrendering back into that and riding it and keeping your inner frame clear. And then you can actually I was more surprised than anybody just in April, our second highest revenue generating month ever.
Oh, I love it.
Like, how the frick did that happen?
So great.
And it was like, oh, I didn't react.
Yeah.
I didn't react. I did work my tushy off because I am a work my tushy off kind of person. I like it. And so we reap the rewards of that. Like, it's not really that complicated.
Yeah. Well, what I'm also hearing, this is so great. I was going to ask you this question about abundance consciousness, especially for women, money mindset and worthiness. What I'm hearing, because I'm listening, just, we're all made of energy. And I think I love what you said about, it's really this trusting life, right? Like trusting that life, whatever, forehead to the floor, whatever is there is what life is presenting, but not reacting. Doesn't mean you didn't take action. You did. Right. But I love this, like your energy is not fighting or pushing or fear.
No.
And I think that's a big difference.
It's huge. You can't okay, so we can't have these two things in our context at the same time. We can't hold abundance consciousness and have connections to lack, fear, not enoughness.
Yeah.
Because then you're just in this inner tug of war where nothing can actually break free. You can't kind of do abundance consciousness.
Right.
Like you must actually figure out a way to embody it as your state of being.
Mm.
And that's really hard and scary for people because so much letting go of what we're told is what we're supposed to do with money is required.
This is big. This is really big, Kiva, because I'm thinking now this is where I can hear people like, okay, tell me, so how do I embody this state of being? Like, how do I stop fighting
Like, but these bills, Kiva, and I got laid off, and yes.
Yeah, clients said no. I mean, I've seen it with my clients, I've seen it with myself, and I'm like, okay, and so how, it's almost like that state of equanimity and neutrality, and that, and so let's talk about that for a moment, because I can tell there are people that are like, yep, yes, please tell me how that happens. How do we do that?
So we have to train ourselves to really see the world through a new lens. So most people are seeing the world through a lens where money is a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I mean by that. It means that there's a fixed amount of resources, right? Not just money, resources in the world. And that if Julie gets this much, then there's only this much left for me. And if Bill Gates has this much, there's only this much left for the rest of us. Yeah. And so we're all trying to hoard and fight over resources because we think incorrectly that if we don't get it, someone else will, or if someone else has it, we're not going to get it.
Absolutely.
This is the biggest lie.
That's a lie. Yep.
That is poisoning human consciousness in my worldview. Like this is the lie that has us in competition.
Yep.
This is the lie that has us think that we have to be right. There's so much division in the world right now, right? Different ideologies, religions, people in so much righteousness because they're scared that if they don't get their piece, there's not going to be, right? Okay. What's the truth? The truth is that we live in an ever-expanding universe. It's actually true, scientifically. I always prickle people when I say this, so I'm just going to warn you, this might make you prickly.
I love it. Bring on the prickles.
There is more biomass, meaning more green matter and life energy on the earth year after year after year. Okay, so yes, rainforests are being destroyed and coral reefs are dying. We're not minimizing that there are serious environmental issues, and nature wins. There is still more and more biomass being created year after year after year. We live in an ever-expanding universe. I read recently that they discovered a brand new coral reef, never been seen before, deeper than they've seen coral reefs before. You see, life is very smart. It's simply relocating itself to where it can thrive. Maybe we humans don't get to snorkel, 20 feet off the ocean and see it, and that's devastating. I cried the last time I went snorkeling. It was so sad. And life wins.
Wow.
Right?
Chills with that. This is like a mic drop. Like, I don't even know.
So all we're saying is actually there's infinite resources available to us. It's not personal, right? This isn't about getting for ourselves, because then we're actually tying into the old consciousness. What we're saying is like, we're all just animals, right? We're just plugged into this thing called nature, which is guided by a higher source called life. And if you can just tune into that as your lens and start to see that everywhere you look, right? Like, everyone laughs because I always use zucchini as an example to teach them.
Yeah, I've heard your zucchini. Yeah, go.
Okay.
I love it.
So when I lived on that big ass farm in Dover, my ex-husband really wanted us to have a vegetable garden, which is hilarious. Like, I'm a nice Jewish girl from New York. I kill plants. But the one thing that we could grow so freaking well was zucchini. You can plant one little tiny zucchini like this, like a little tiny plant in your garden, and you barely have to do anything. And that thing will overtake the entire, and to the point where you're like, hi, Julie, would you like zucchini? Do you want zucchini bread, zucchini noodles? How about some zucchini pasta, zucchini cookies? Like,
Right.
zucchini, and money is just the same. It's like, once you start noticing it in this way, it literally does start showing up everywhere you look. There's so much. There is $17 trillion moving around the planet every day. When I say that, it's going from one account to another account. Now, we've had a downturn, so okay, maybe right now there's 12. Right. There's 12 trillion instead of 17 trillion. It's still trillion.
Yeah.
So we just have to like be open to a little bit of that coming into our experience. And we have plenty. There's plenty for everybody.
Oh, girl, that was just, yeah, I really think this is it. I think then so it's this completely new belief and lens. I love what you said. It is completely poisoning human consciousness, but we can change that. It's one of the reasons I love you and wanted to talk about this. Because,
yeah. Here's how you know. I actually have realized how you know when you really get it. How you know when you really get it is you don't have to try to be generous anymore. Generosity becomes your stasis point.
Oh, that's
and it doesn't feel like something you're doing.
Yeah.
It's who you're being. Because until you are infinitely generous, you're not quite there yet. And it's okay, right? It's like, believe me, this took me 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
But now I notice, like, with my team, with every, like, it doesn't mean much to me.
Yeah.
And so generosity is just my thing, you know? Like, I love sharing the profits of my business with my team. Paying them every month gives me amazing delight. I'm so proud and happy that we've created something that can support 8 people. Like, that is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I have no, and when the in March, we did see a really big downturn really quickly, and I got scared for a second. I got really scared, not for myself, but for my team. I was like, what if I can't pay them? I cried to Steve, my beloved. Oh my God, sobbed my face off. And then I was like, okay, Kiva, you know how this works. You know what to do. And I just met with them and I'm like, listen, we're all in this boat together. You know, my intention is to be able to fully pay you, but I just want a presence. Like, this is what I'm seeing. You know, if you'd like to cut back your hours, totally get it. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pay you in full this month. And every one of them said, oh my God, it still makes me cry. Like, Kiva, we're with you. Like, we're here in this for the long term. And like, of course we're going to show up and keep working. And we all got in the boat. We rowed so hard together and we made amazing things happen. But I thought, like, wow, to have a team say, like, we've got your back. We're with you. There's nobody else I would rather work with or for. It's so humbling. Like,
wow. Yeah. Wow. There are so many nuggets in what you're saying, because I think, look, underneath it is really understanding and holding. And to me, in all honesty, I get this and I feel it and I'm still practicing it. Like, it's like when you plant the seed and you've got to, or when you had the experiment of having an egg and you had to like make sure you didn't break it for 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
You got to nurture these new beliefs, because everything around you, people, media, TV, are going to enforce that's not so. And I really, so what you're saying, and this is like, this resonates 100%. I can tell you that I try to surround myself with people. I think it's important, people that also can support that. But I love going back to the natural laws of life. It's actually, I think it's actually, there's a law called the law of more life.
There is the law of more life.
Yeah.
Law of, oh my goodness, my brain just did a blank. But yes, exactly. Like we are in an ever expanding universe.
Right.
That universe will ebb and flow, right? What goes up comes down, what goes down will go up.
Yeah.
And then I think that there's this other layer, which I want to bring into the conversation, because there is a point where we have to leave the spiritual realm and actually create tactical, strategic things, mechanisms, actions that allow business to be done, allow money to come in, right? Like if I was just sitting here all day, pondering zucchini,
Right.
I would not have these businesses. And so what I am an advocate for is the both and, right? The inner contextual spiritual practice of not hooking in to lack consciousness or less than enough, and the like unapologetic market and sell the things a lot.
Yeah. To do. Yeah.
Because it's you have to have both of those in play. One without the other doesn't work.
It's really well said. It kind of makes me even think of a little bit of like the yin yang and the divine, you got the masculine and the feminine. I always think of feminine, surrender, allow, receive, masculine, a new, that balanced masculine inspired action.
Yeah, I get a little triggered sometimes, not around the concept of the feminine as a balance, but I actually have such reverence for the masculine and I love that I am a gritty, tenacious, ambitious, driven woman.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of myself. And I get a little frustrated mostly because I want to help, right? And I want people to have results. And this whole idea of like being so in flow. And so like, just receive what the universe presents. I'm like, I get really frustrated because you have to have both.
Definitely. Absolutely.
It really matters that we have both.
Yeah. And even I think about this getting a little esoteric, but you think about the way this world is with the duality, how things are set, right? Light and darkness. It would not make sense to have only one, to just be in surrender flow.
Right.
I know for me, and I'm thinking maybe for you, I actually did really well with the doing and the action, and that's actually really easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
What I have found is, and I think this is what you're saying too, when you put your forehead on the floor, there's a like just a full kind of, it's a surrendering and trusting life.
Yeah.
That has been, and I got to tell you, because like you said, your March, like on my March and April were a little definitely different than other months. And I have looked at it, I've done this, and I'm like, all right, life, all right, source, all right, like what is wanting to be born through me now? How can I be of service? Because I know you govern. I know the laws of life, more life governs. And I love what you were saying. And I think it is absolutely it has to be, because if we're in one or the other, like I did the overdoing and I had a full-on autoimmune breakdown in my head.
Yeah, you need both. And what I love is that once you're clear, right, like you kind of like stripped away the assumptions and the belief systems that aren't effective, you can actually consciously program the way that you want that to look in your life, right? So like, I used to work when I wasn't making money. I used to work all the time. I would work nights, I would work weekends, I'd go on vacations and get up at 5 a.m. so I could work for 4 hours before the kids got up. Now, like I stop work at 4 o'clock most days. Actually now all the time, my body can't work after 4. I would never look at technology on the weekend. That makes me want to, like my body is like, ugh. I do work hard, in my days from like 7 a.m. I like starting early until 4. And sometimes I don't take breaks for lunch. I'll admit it. But But then I've learned to totally unplug from that
Wow.
and go take a bath or go dance in the basement and go journal and cook, right? Like that's where my feminine gets to come out in the kitchen and nurturing the kids and not needing to direct them, not needing to fix them. I try, I'm still learning a little of that, but I'm working on it. And so that's how the balance can come in, right? That when you're in the role of being the CEO of your business, yeah, you are going to be more in your masculine. You need to be. But then how do you consciously balance that out in these other aspects of your life so that you are not tapping out your adrenals, getting into stress, reactions and all that?
I just love this conversation so much. I almost feel like we need a part two on
I
on
know.
financial, on abundance, around abundance mindset and consciousness. I really like you're tapping into something that I think is so important and needed. And I think there's a lot of like, how do I do that? And you gave so much wisdom. Like I'll just, for people, this is how I take my crazy notes because it's not linear.
Like mine.
They're like,
Mine.
I'm like,
Usually they're like circles around the page.
yeah, totally. Yeah. Like I will figure it out. There's so much here. I just, I love your gritty honesty and genuine bright light. And just, I think for women, especially, and I know men listen to this too, but especially for women and those that are, entrepreneurial or even if not entrepreneurial in your work, in your home, like feeling like you want to shift how you're occurring and how life is happening and your own, comfortability, as you said, with your finances. It really, what you talked about, like, this is so empowering.
Yeah.
And it really starts with getting this whole lie about there's not enough. It's a lack consciousness that I think the first thing what you said is you got to see that.
Yeah, you have to see it, because if you can just become the observer of it, right? When we have I'll say this one last piece because it's actually,
Yeah, love it. Please.
when we have right, like there are probably people watching this and they're really are like grappling with this idea because that programming of not enough and lack is so deep down and through your whole system, right? Your whole energy system from when you were a little girl or a little boy has been given this construct of lack. And so what happens when we have a construct like that is we have an ego whose job it is to look out in the world and just collect the evidence that it's true. And so you are seeing life through no fault of your own, through a lens of, yep, not enough there. Oop, yep, not enough there. Ooh, yep, I got to buy the soda. I remember my dad once yelling at me because I wanted Coke and not Pepsi when I was like 14 because the Coke was 10 cents a bottle more.
Oh my gosh.
Like these messages that we get are intense.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so we just look out in the world, not enough, not enough, not enough. Oh my God, all these people out of work, like we're just literally feeding the demon.
Yeah.
And so all we want to do as a first step is just notice it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like just noticing like, oh, is it true that it's smarter to buy the soda that's 10 cents cheaper? Like, is that actually really a thing? Just getting curious about it. Don't try to change it too quickly because, oh my God, there's this whole mechanism that happens that I could teach a whole other thing on, but you'll just get pulled right back if you try to change it. So the first thing is not to change it, it's to notice it. Mm-hmm. Just notice it. And then just get curious. Is it true? Is it true that no one's buying anything right now? Well, Kiva just said she had one of her biggest months ever in April 2020. Like, okay, so is that true? Maybe it's not. Yeah. And as we can start to crack a little light into these beliefs, then we can start to put some new ones in.
This is so, so powerful. I'm so grateful that we did this. This conversation, and frankly, it's interesting. I have done this in most areas of my life, frankly, around self-love, around worthiness. And it's interesting. This is sort of my big last one. I would say I'm in the midst of doing this. I can see it. I'm an observer and I'm like, wow, I just really bought into. And so I'm imagining I'm not the only one here that is still working on that. I think the way it works, probably attracting others that are with it. And I love that idea of don't try to change it, just get curious, observe it. And you might even be like married to somebody or someone in your family that still has that belief.
Yeah.
So
For you probably are, because before you would have connected into that
right.
plug, and that was definitely a factor, right? Because my ex-husband still wants to live that way. He's chosen it, right? That's his chosen state of being. And it's not for me to influence his journey, just as it wasn't for him to influence mine.
Right.
This is the tough part about, spiritual awakening and relationships. Sometimes it doesn't end up so pretty. Although, I don't know, it's all worked out. He has the most beautiful, amazing, kind, generous, loving, adorable new girlfriend who is amazing to my kids.
Yeah.
I just would be her bestie if she wasn't my ex-husband's girlfriend. She's amazing. And Steve, my love of my life, like, God, forehead to the floor in gratitude for that one.
Yeah.
So it all worked out.
Forehead to the floor, girl, surrender to life, and then take big ass action. Take it and get it on.
Yeah.
I love it. You're amazing. This was just such a gift. I love your wisdom, your wit. I feel like there was so much packed in here. You guys, I will have show notes. I always say this because I know for me, when I'm listening to something, I'm like furiously, like, I hope whoever just listen, enjoy, take it in, and there will be show notes that I'm going to put all this together. But you are just a beautiful, badass, bright light.
I got you, Bo. Oh, big hugs like this.
Big
hugs.
Big virtual hugs. We're hugging each other if you're watching this, but virtually. You're awesome. Love you.
Love you too, Julie.